Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. And I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. To keep it short, I've been always curious about why people succeed, Steve Jobs level, and why some people struggle. And it's always been a quest of mine to really figure out the secret sauce to living life. So it consists of four types of freedom: time, financial, location, health, freedom. That secret sauce, I wanted to bring people across the globe living the life, making an impact, getting their distinctions and insights into a consolidated place where people can go and learn and get inspired, entertained. And so today I'm happy to introduce Liz Scully, and she's going to be talking to us about the power of masterminds, which is a fantastic subject, communities. She has a very interesting approach to naming her business. She's the founder of Rethink Central, and I'm really excited about this show. So, Liz, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah. So, real quick, tell the audience, your origin story, how you got started, and the work that you do.
Sure. So, I spent 20 years working in film, big Hollywood films, the sort with lots of effects, and I ran lighting teams in post-production. It was wonderful work, but it also involved 18-hour days, 7 days a week. It was fabulous and exciting, but like a lot of your listeners, it also took a lot out of me. And over time, I moved out of that and into business strategy, which feels like it might be a very strange shift, but there's an awful lot of similarity. You are surrounded by people who are very driven, who really want to achieve stuff and are artistic and creative and are doing amazing things with a big vision. Now, sometimes that's film directors. Now it's entrepreneurs. And it is remarkably similar and just lovely work. But I get weekends off now, which is fabulous.
Yeah, it's always great to be the boss of your own time. And, time is the only asset that we have.
Exactly.
And actually you and me we were talking backstage, they were talking about my podcast and, is it for physicians? And I talked about this cross-pollination of skill sets into different things, marketing, branding, sales. You need all these skills in whatever field. It doesn't matter if you're a doctor or dentist or whatever. Tell us, which is really interesting. You made that shift and pivot and did these cross skills. They're talking about like skills that you can easily translatable and use in different situations. This idea of masterminds, why and how, and why is it so powerful? And we'll go into it.
Sure. So let's start first by talking about what is a mastermind. So in essence, they are really simple. They are small groups, or certainly the way I run them, they're small groups, small intimate groups that meet regularly. And we set a goal this time that you will achieve by next time. So it's good for accountability, but it's also somewhere where you can ask questions. Because when you're running your own business, lord of your own ship, it can be very difficult to ask those questions that are like, I don't really know what to do now, or my business partner is causing me strife. There are places that we can talk at a high level about that, but to really get into the nitty gritty, our family is probably bored witless with hearing about this. They want us to succeed, but they don't really know the right information to help us. A mastermind group can be your home base to always have the right questions. And I think they're amazing. I really do. And for me, that came from the film industry. We're very collaborative. We always work together. We're better together in groups.
Yeah. I think there was this, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill talks about the power of the mastermind. And that's like your network and just kind of, it's not 1 + 1 = 3. It's like 1 + 1 = 1,000, 10,000. It's like exponent. So these masterminds, so we talked about what it is, and usually they're high level. It's like high performing, high income, high net worth. And it's great to just be able to consolidate everything. Why should every entrepreneur be in a mastermind?
So partly it's that place where we don't have many places where we can ask, basically where we can be less than stellar. It is useful to have a place where you can ask a question that in any other room you might feel foolish asking for. So we all need a place like that. We also need a place where we can be completely ourselves, and as well as seeking knowledge, get feedback on what we're doing. That is really helpful. But most of all, a lot of us, when you're running a business, it is essentially at the top level, it's a very lonely thing. So to have a community of people, I really do think as a group, as humans, we are better when we're together in little groups with people that know us well. So I work a lot with solopreneurs, micropreneurs, very small businesses. And it is really helpful to have a home base that you can come back to again and again. Plus, it's just fun to see the same people as we grow together. There's a little bit of competitiveness when you see someone else. Actually, that person, they're doing better than me. What can I do? Without it being aggressive. We all rise together. A rising tide lifts all boats. I feel that very strongly. You're muted.
How is being in a mastermind group, like talking about so are mastermind groups profitable?
Well, yes, frankly. So you can be in one, you never have to run them, but just being surrounded by people who are successful, we are, there's that lovely quote about we're the sum of the 5 people around us. So there's that if you're in a room full of people who are slightly more successful than you or moving faster than you, that's going to keep you moving. But also at a really basic level, that's just being in one. I joined mastermind groups because I missed that collaborative, collegial side of things in the film industry. So that really helped. That moves my business along. But running them, super profitable. And because you can bring together people and facilitate that conversation at a high level. And you can also help people without having to be a coach. You can just, if you've ever helped people make a decision, you can run a mastermind. And as you say, they can be super high level. They can be 200 grand a year, or they can be super low level at 350 or 500 a month, right? It doesn't have to be a big fancy thing, but you can choose how you want to do it. And for most of my clients, or all of them, maybe all of them are either planning a mastermind or are thinking about them, because the main way I work with people is in masterminds, so they see it works. So yes, it can be super profitable.
And so the other question is strength in numbers, and are small groups or large groups better, and why?
Well, for me, I think small groups, like small intimate groups. Imagine a dinner party that you go to every other week or once a month with people that you really trust and can be completely yourself. That is really helpful. Larger masterminds, because sadly there is no embargo on how the word is used. So some things that are just a big group of people, they're like just a lovely community as opposed to an actual mastermind. Those can be very large, but you can have larger groups if it's like a weekend retreat. So instead of meeting regularly once a month or once every other month, instead of that kind of setup for a very small group to the sort I run, you can also have an in-person, almost retreat-based mastermind where you come together for 3 or 4 days, and they can be very powerful. And often they're slightly bigger. They're a larger group of people, and they're fun as well. I think all masterminds are fun. They're just great.
I encourage everybody to join a mastermind. It doesn't have to be, there's, high level, there's YPO, there's a lot of things, but just to plug yourself into a group has shared common interests and goals. Oh, that's the other question. So costs, a lot of these are high ticket. So, if people are interested in getting into a mastermind, are high ticket ones better? Can they get into some for free? Kind of how do they
Absolutely.
work any good?
Free masterminds are potentially not that good, not because they're not lovely or not well curated, is that without skin in the game, people don't tend to turn up regularly. And that's what you need. And the more you pay, the more you turn up. If you're paying 10 grand a month, then you are most certainly not shirking that unless you are, unless something serious has come up. So for most people, you can find a mastermind in your area somewhere between the 500,000 bucks a month right up to 10 or 12 grand a month. For me, for most of the ecosphere that I'm part of, most masterminds are between 8 grand and 10, 12 grand in total for 6 months or a year. So you get an awful lot of value it's just enough to make you think, oh, that's too much money to waste. And you're going to turn up, you're going to do the thing. And also having the commitment that everyone is going to be there, that makes a big difference.
And when you show up to these masterminds, what do you do? Is it a present? Is it more just kind of wine and dine? what can people expect when they join these types of masterminds?
Well, assuming it's a good mastermind, assuming it's well curated and it's well put together, there will be a structure. They are quite a structured thing, because I would say if you're eating, that's fine, but that's not necessarily a mastermind. That's dinner. But certainly the masterminds, the way I teach them, because I run a school that teaches people how to run masterminds, the way I structure them is that we have hot seats built into them. And in a hot seat, you get half an hour where you can ask your question and you speak very little. And then you get all of the input from the group. And for me, one of the big things about a mastermind is, certainly with smaller numbers, everybody gets input. There's no free rides in a mastermind. There's nobody who's going to go, I don't actually know anything about this question. At which point you're going to still give feedback, still give input at that point. So you get feedback in all sorts of ways, that whole 360 feedback, but useful as opposed to just stressful. So if you ask a question and the person doesn't have something directly responsive to that question, then they might give feedback along just general feedback. And what I've found over years of running masterminds is that often it's that throwaway stuff. I can't answer your question in this particular case, but you are tenacious and you have been here. And if I can just reflect that, I know you're going through some big stuff, but look at the things you're doing. It's that stuff that tends to be life-changing. It feels like it wouldn't be, but it's hugely beneficial.
And then the other question I have is, basically from talking to you, my main key action step is to get started. You talk about this avatar, and why is knowing your avatar so important when you're joining these masterminds?
Well, to be fair, it's not just your mastermind, it's your entire business. So before I worked in film, I worked in advertising, in ad agencies. And there, your avatar is your perfect client. And when you've got that really clear, not just at a kind of demographic level, but at a psychographic level, when you know the books they read and the thing, most importantly, the thing that keeps them awake at 3 a.m. at night, when you can speak directly to that pain and you know how you're going to help people, then everything is going to be much more attractive. For a lot of us, we try and avoid talking about the difficult things in life. But obviously, if you can speak absolutely to that pain, people are going to know they're in a safe pair of hands and that you can help them. I don't think you can do enough avatar information. Working out the avatar of a mastermind you join, but also any mastermind you create, so important. So important.
Yeah. As we come to the end of this talk, and the really fascinating, you mentioned this idea of books, and some of the masterminds I've been in, we share, resources, PDFs, audiobooks. And so what's interesting is you read over 600 books a year. And I love this hack because, and I want you to give you the stage to share, but how do you read over 600 books a year?
Audiobooks. It's the key. It's absolutely magic. I listen gradually over the years. I've got faster and faster at listening to them, because when you listen very quickly, you have to pay attention. Otherwise, it's just a blur of sound. So I listen to at least 2, maybe 3 a day, and it's all audiobooks. And particularly in the last few years, it has been an absolute revolution in how many books are available. You can read in any genre, on any fact. It's just fascinating. And for me, if a client mentions something in a mastermind that they're reading a book, I can think, hang on, is that any good? And by the next time I've seen them, I will have read the book, and quite possibly around the entire field. It is so useful. Do you listen to audiobooks?
Yeah, I wanted to share because, I still love physical books. Media consumption, book consumption is now all audio. It's like 95%. And so I use this strategy with the speed, but also selective. Like if you're strategic in what you listen to, you can actually go through several audiobooks a day. And you can compress all this information into, shorter amounts of time and get the main idea, skip over things here and there. Plus, combine it with like YouTube and podcasting, and also ChatGPT, what can summarize things. You can get through so much material in a day. So
absolutely. And it's been such a revolution in the last few years. It really is. It's so helpful.
Yeah. So how can people rate conversation? How can people contact you, follow you, and reach out to you, check you out on social media?
Well, thank you. You can find me on LinkedIn at Liz P. Scully, which is my secret middle name, which you will not drag out of me, I swear. But so you can find me on LinkedIn. And I've also made your listeners a secret page so they can find out more about masterminds. There's some free downloads, there's some videos to watch. And that is at Rethink Financial Freedom.
Yeah. And so for all the audience out there, let's thank Liz for coming on the show, really dropping a lot of nuggets and gems of wisdom. Be sure to, like I said, really plug yourself, expand your network, plug yourself. These masterminds are almost private coaching on steroids because it's like so consolidated, so hyper-focused. You should add it to your arsenal for personal productivity. She's on LinkedIn, Instagram, as well as the free resource in the for all the listeners in the show. These will be included in the show notes. So Liz, thanks so much for coming on to the show, and it was a great conversation.
Thank you.